or cooked? Let's find out. We're going to prepare meatballs plant-based style. Two different ways. One raw and the other cooked. I'm going to start off by doing the raw first. Get that one set up, put it to the side, and then start on the cooked. Okay? So my ingredients are on the counter. So for the raw meatballs, I'm using walnuts as my meat, basically. So I have my walnut and a whole bunch of different seasoning that I'll be incorporating to make my meatballs. So this is how we're going to start. So in my processor, I have 3 cups of rinsed walnut that I'm just going to pulse with a little bit of aqua. It's about half a cup of water. Not too much because I don't want it to get too soggy. That was a quick pulse in my processor. Not too fine. I don't want it to be mushy. Right? Still want to have some texture to it. And I'm just going to layer that now in my bowl. And all I'm going to do now is just to start incorporating now some seasoning. Okay? Just like you've done your meatballs. Right? You have your meat and then you add all your seasoning. Exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put this to the side now. And in my blender, I have some red bell peppers and some sugar snap peas. I have my some bell peppers I'm going to put in the processor. Some fresh herbs, a whole bunch of different fresh herbs. And then also, of course, my kale. Okay? So I'm going to poach these first to make them nice and small to kind of mimic the same texture as the walnut. Perfect. So in goes. Combine them all together like so. Get that nice, pretty look. Awesome. All right. And to that, I'm going to start layering now some flavor. So, got me some onion powder. Some garlic powder. And some salt. So in this container, I've got a mixed bag of a little bit of seasoning powder and salt. Some paprika. More time. Okay. At this stage, you can now taste the mixture to see if it has enough salt for you. And now I'm just going to layer in some fresh herbs. You know, I like my fresh herbs. So got some oregano, we've got some parsley, curly parsley and Italian parsley, and some basil. My fresh basil, I picked these earlier outside from the garden. I'm just going to add those to it. And I've got me some fresh thyme. I just want to incorporate those in there too. Now I'm just going to add some kale. Like I said, always try to get your veggies whichever way you can, right? So adding some kale in there. Mix. What your mixture now looks like. Okay. Season some point. We're good to go. So I am now going to just leave the mixture just like so for a few, maybe 15 minutes or so, as long as it takes me to make my tomato sauce, which is what I'll be doing next. So leave it there, because the beauty, or one of the important things about doing raw, you're gonna have to let those flavors sort of like marinate. So I'm gonna leave it there to marinate for a little while whilst I move on to something else. So that something else is now gonna be my raw tomato sauce. So for the raw tomato sauce, first of all, I'm doing two tomato sauces. One will be raw and one will be cooked. Obviously, the raw one will be for the raw meatballs, whereby the cooked one will be for the cooked meatballs. So, what do I have for my tomato sauce? First of all, I have a few pieces of sun-dried tomato. And what that does, it gives you a nice depth of flavor and also color. But be careful, because when they do sun-dry it, they do add sea salt so make sure you add salt at the very end before, just to make sure it's not too salty. So let's put a handful of sun-dried tomatoes in my processor, along with one tomato. And all of these small little bad boys are from my garden. So I'm going to put those bad boys in there as well to make my tomato sauce. And then I like to add bell peppers. So I'm adding some red bell peppers. Obviously it's red, so it's going to help me to maintain that, that color as well. Okay, so to that, you will need seasoning, herbs, all that kind of good stuff. But what you also need is a little bit of sweetener, because your tomato sauce tends to be a little bit on the acid tart side. So I don't use sugar. What I do instead is just to use some fresh dates. Well, I shouldn't say fresh. They're sun-dried dates. So let's put a handful of sun-dried dates in there. I also like to add a little bit of garlic. So that's one clove of garlic in there. A little bit of onion powder, not too much, just sprinkling. Same paprika. I'm gonna add all my other little seasoning salt from here, except salt. I'm doing that last just to be careful. I'm going to put in some herbs now and some later. I'll show you how I do that. So I'll put some fresh herbs in there now. And then I'll put some in later. Now your tomato sauce is done. Good taste. And I'm so happy I did not put any salt in, because it needs no salt. Perfect. And then I have a little left in my processor, and all I'm going to do now is to add it to my walnut balls mixture, just to give it a little bit of color, but also to infuse it with a little bit more flavor. So that was walnut being marinated, and I'm just going to add not too much, just a little. I'm going to give it that color. So all I'm going to do now is to prepare the noodles for the raw meatballs. And the noodles that I'll be using, zucchini. Very simple. Very simple. I have a little hand spiralizer that I just incorporate and just put it through there and whisk. I get myself some noodles. Plus these zucchini noodles, you can keep them in the refrigerator for a couple of days. Just spiralized like this. They're actually pretty okay. I've had them in there for like four or 5 days and no issue whatsoever. The only thing I do, because of the water content of it, I will put at the base of my container a paper towel and then put the zucchini on top. So if it's draining water, the paper towel will sop it up, as opposed to the zucchini sitting in that pool of water. So that's what's going to make it go off quicker. So that's my little trick that I do. Hence the reason why it can stay in my refrigerator a little bit longer than a couple of days. Last thing that we have to do for our challenge today is to make the raw meatballs. So as I've told you, I left them there. It's the first thing I started with. And I left them there just to kind of keep marinating. So I think they're done now. So I'm going to start. Yeah. Yep. So I think they're done. So I'm just going to start now making my little balls. I'm so excited. Noodles over there. And balls here. So this is the crust for these balls. The cooked one, I use the almond. I use my almond nuts that I basically just, turn into a crust. And then I'm doing the same thing here now with pistachio for these raw balls. Ice cream scooper. I'll just put it in my hands. Just like so. Ball number 1 is down. I just use the scooper just to kind of, make sure everything is even. And that's it. Just going to continue this process.
Yeah. He said also that nation you serve I shall judge. We walk in the wilderness, it hurts so much.
Now we're going to start on the cooked balls. So what do I need for that? So for my cooked balls, I am using mushrooms. I basically used my grater, and I shredded some trumpet mushrooms and some baby bella mushrooms as well. And I just literally combine them. So what I'm going to do now is just to add all my other mixture to it to make my balls. So starting off with some onions. Just mincing some garlic and Mr. Scotchy. Just have some Scotch bonnet pepper that I'm also just mincing as well. Just a couple slices. So spicy. Ooh, but flavorful. Very flavorful. Then to that, I'm just going to add some bell peppers. So I got me some red bell peppers. I'm going to already diced up. I'm just going to add those to the mixture as well. And I'm just going to add some shredded carrots, just to give it a little bit of a binder. Like we said earlier, we just like to always incorporate some veggies when you're making these types of things. Okay, so it's going to be veggie forward. Okay. Then I'm also going to add me some kale like I did earlier. So add me a little bit of kale in here. Okay, so pretty that looks. Look at that. Nice and colorful. Okay, then I'm going to layer on some herbs as well. So just like I did before, just a couple of sprigs of thyme. Some parsley, curly parsley, and Italian parsley that I'm adding in here. You know, I like my herbs. Okay. And then we want to add a little bit of onion powder. This is small because I already have raw onions in there as well. You feel a little bit more flavor. Some paprika, just like what I did with the raw, and a little bit of garlic powder, even though I have fresh garlic in there. Put my, my seasoning salt, and then my salt. Okay. Mix those together. It's looking good, looking good. All right. Now I need something to bind this together. I need something to kind of hold it together. So what I did was I made me some flax eggs. So that's going to be my binder. So basically that's going to mimic an egg. Okay, so in here I have 2 cups of flaxseed meal. I had a flax seeds itself, and I just put it in my processor, make it into a meal, powdered basically. So I had 2 tablespoons of that, and about 4.5 tablespoons of water. Combine it together and leave it to sit, and then you get this consistency that somewhat mimics an egg. So it's going to act as the binder for this. All right. I'm going to put that in there. Good. But I need something else. So got me some chickpea. So I'm going to add some chickpea to this as well, just to give it a little bit more body in my meatballs. So I'm going to put some in there like so. And just, okay, these are cooked chickpea. These chickpea are already cooked. I bought them from, it's a organic brand that is, all that's in there is cooked chickpea in sea salt. That's it. Chickpea, garbanzo beans, cooked in sea salt. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just adding that in there. Crush them a little. So it's going to act like a potato in this mixture. I'm also adding a little bit of that tomato sauce that I made earlier. One for color and just to give it a little bit more flavor. Let's mix that around. And what I have here is some grounded almond nuts. So I'm using almond nuts as like the breadcrumbs to hold, for the outside, a coating of the outside of the meatballs. My little bowls are done. Now I'm just going to make some spaghetti for my meatballs. So right now I have made some organic brown rice quinoa spaghetti pasta, and that's what I'll be doing. I brought my water to a boil. I added some salt and the usual, a little bit of herbs as well, and I'm just going to put my pasta in. That's it. I didn't have enough raw tomato sauce for both the cooked and the raw balls. So what I had to do was to get one of my jars of tomato sauce for the cooked meatballs. So all I've done is put in my little pot right here in the saucepan and just decorate it up a little bit. So I just added some fresh herbs and some kale to it. Put it down to for a quick boil. And then also I just finished making my pasta. So we have completed our cooked meatballs, the mushroom meatballs. We have done the sauce for it. Both dishes are now completed. So just a reminder what we did. We have our cooked meatballs. Okay, they're not quite round like a ball, but that's the best I could do. They just kind of squished down when I was making them. But this is the cooked meatballs over spaghetti, brown rice, and quinoa spaghetti. And this is the raw balls over zucchini noodles. I have not dressed the noodles at all. It doesn't need dressing. It's perfectly fine. What we're going to do now is just to finish off plating up these two dishes, and then we can talk about the differences. So to start off, let's do the cooked one. So we have our spaghetti, brown rice spaghetti, and the actual mushroom meatballs. And all I'm doing is pouring now some of this beautiful, okay, so that's the spaghetti and meatball cooked, and all I'm going to do is sprinkle a little bit of garnish on top just to make it look pretty. Okay, perfect. The second one, the raw walnut balls over zucchini noodles. And I'm going to put our dressing, which is the raw tomato sauce. Just like so. And now we have the raw. Okay. And then you just need to ask yourself a question now. Which one is your favorite? Okay, so let me put this one down. So most of you who follow me will know that I also eat a lot of raw food. And now what I do, I incorporate more raw food in my daily plan than cooked food. So I'm at a 75-25. 75 raw, 25 cooked. Which means usually it's the weekends that I actually will prepare a cooked meal that lasts me for maybe Friday, Saturday. Okay, so I'm saying that as a disclaimer to say, not because I actually do consume a lot of raw food is the reason why I'm going to give you my verdict, which is raw. Why? It's cleaner, it's tastier, it's quicker. Yes, you put away to marinate. You don't have to do that. I chose to do that. But I don't have any dishes to go in a pan to go and clean. There's no oil, there's no frying, there's no splattering on my stovetop or nothing like that. And the taste is just phenomenal. I am telling you, give this a go and you tell me if it's not a really nice raw meal. You don't taste as if it's raw, but it is. It's a beautiful taste. Still seasoned, just like this one, still nice and seasoned. The only thing that's missing from this one comparing to the cook is the crust. We all like crunchy. I do too. I like to have texture in my meal. Totally get it. So that's the only thing that's missing. Hence the reason why I was trying to get that crust by, rolling it into some pistachio nuts, but it wasn't enough to compare to the crust on this one, which is crusted with the almond flakes and then fried or air fry. So you get that crunchiness. When you bite into it, you hear that crunch. So that's why a lot of people like this one better. But for me, I can bypass that crunch because I'm getting the crunch from the noodles. The actual noodles themselves is fresh. There's nothing added to it. You saw what I did. I just spiralized them and put them on my plate. That was pretty much it. No salt, nothing whatsoever. So I am getting my crunch from that. So overall, this is my favorite. But you tell me which one you would prefer and which one you would like to make. Oh, yeah, so that's it. That was a challenge for today, was just being able to cook, meatballs in 2 different ways. The beauty of raw dishes, or the trick about raw, is that if you are going to eat, consume a raw meal, you're going to prepare it, or it's going to be prepared for you. You want to make sure everything is fresh and organic. That's very important. That's the reason why I didn't want to make the meatballs and then pour prepared sauce on top of it. I wanted it to be a raw sauce. This is my favorite. Like them both, but this is my favorite. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being in this space. We are all on this journey. I didn't start from here. I had to start from somewhere, right, before I get to this stage. So if anybody is on the transitioning journey and want any tips or any ideas to what to do, how to avoid certain things, how to, stand up to all the trying to overcome the meat taste, or missing meat or anything like that, please let me know, and I will try my very best to help you out as much as possible. As usual, we give thanks and praises to the Most High, the one who created us, the one who gave us life, one who gave us the gift of life. You woke up this morning, you were given the gift of life. So let's praise and thank him for the gift of life. Peace and blessings to you and your family, and have your best day.